What we got here today is a forged wheel that we're gonna be working on. As you can see, we got plenty of defects to kind of work out. We're gonna be using our combo buffs to get a light cut in there with our cherry. So this was the combo that we're gonna be using today to go ahead and get some of our stains out, some of these scratches that are kind of heavier in there. And I'm gonna show you what exactly I do on these recessed areas where we come in here and do our process for our forged wheels. All right?
I got a question for you. Why did you decide to use the like a softer combo buff versus like a cut buff in this stage?
You know, like on these, what I found is the type of metal that we're working with is not as aggressive. It's not as, bad as what we usually see on like semis, where we usually use more aggressive, a little bit stiffer wheel with a treat, or like our Tripoli compounds. If we're talking about something like that, you're gonna see stuff like pits, heavy oxidation, where you do need a little bit stiffer wheel and a little bit more aggressive products to work some of those defects out. Gotcha. With this forged wheel, it's a little bit softer metal, so we don't have to be as aggressive with it. Right now, I'm gonna go with a little bit of an in-between stage, So we have our sprayable polish here, our Q16, right? So I'm just gonna shake that up real good. You can hear it has a marble in there, so it kind of helps break that up. But you're still gonna want to give it a good shake. That way it kind of activates everything in the bottom.
Hey, do you have a distinction? Are you still using Easy Red, or you decide between, depending what's going on, Easy Red versus Q16?
I prefer some of the finer polishes for the forged stuff. If it's raw metal, I'll tend to go to the more aggressive stuff, or even some of the forged polish.
So if you're running on an Alcoa wheel, you tend to go more towards the Easy Red, because it's a little more aggressive?
Yeah. So just depending on whatever I'm kind of working at the time, what's in front of me, I'll make a decision based off that. So you just want to give it a couple sprays in the rag. There's different applications. Some people go directly on the surface. I work a lot in the sun, so I don't have that luxury. Sometimes product will flash, so the safest bet is to go ahead and apply on whatever medium you're going to use to polish the wheel. Again, a lot of this is preference, but I kind of like to see, it gives me a good gauge of like where my first stage was at, so I can kind of see if I need to go back in areas before I go into my finishing stages or my coloring stages. So this is the reason why I kind of do this in-between step, so I can make sure wherever I need to go off. So I'll put a thin layer on, and I'll just come and I'll just do like a lazy wipe to see where I'm kind of at still, and I can still see my patterns and where I need to finish.
So you'll leave some of that compound on there?
Right. So not necessarily the compound, just the in-between polish. Yeah. So, and then again, that polish helps to see where imperfections I left behind. Also helps remove some of the previous compound from the first stage that I did. All right, guys, so now went ahead and switched to our double mirror buff. All right, for our finishing stage. You want to run this at about 1800 RPM. You go a little bit less, a little bit higher, depending on what you're seeing when you're running your buff there. I'm gonna go ahead and pair that with our blueberry bar for our finishing today. That's how we're gonna get our finish, okay?
What's the good one? Big R-rated bar.
When I have the letters, because it's recessed, so it's not a completely flat area, what I technically usually do most of the time, I'll run it at a little bit lower speed, and I'll make sure to hit it both ways. Yeah. So I'll come through and hit the cut, And like I said, this is just mainly on the cut because I like to have my finish a certain way. But I'll come through and run this at a lower speed, maybe a little bit more bar to get into the areas, and then come and clean that up with the finish.
Do you find that the softer treated airways, like the combo, for example, allows you to get in there a little bit further, or not particularly? What's your take, or is that not really going to help you?
No, I mean, really it comes down to like your RPMs. Because if you have it slower than that buff, it does help to have a softer buff so it bends into the areas.
Hence the purple, that's what I'm
Yeah. So if you have something like that where if the buff flexes a little bit more, it kind of helps hit the little corners.
Gotcha, all right.
So you just kind of keep handy, and then if you need it a little bit more, I'll go like on a corner. I use that to kind of get into my areas and then try to clean that up as best as I can. So just to kind of wrap it up, guys, these are usually my go-to of what I'm using right now for forged wheels. For any elimination, I just pretty much start with this as my cut, the wild cherry bar. And depending on what I'm working with, I'll adjust to whatever wheel I need. But the purple combo wheel seems to be doing the trick for me lately. I'm gonna go ahead and finish that up with our blueberry bar on a mirror buff. Sometimes I'll double it up depending on what I'm working on. That's been another one of my go-tos right now, is that double buff. But as long as you get a good cut in there with our wild cherry, this one will be a great follow-up for that as far as your finish goes.